Salt Lake City, Utah Territory, early history and statehood. Salt Lake City, Utah is a city with a vibrant history. It was founded in 1847 by Mormon pioneers who were seeking religious freedom. Since then, the city has seen its share of outlaws, Indians, and other Old West pioneers. From the early days of settlement to the modern era, Salt Lake City has been shaped by its unique history and culture. In this video, we will take a brief look at some of the key events that have shaped Salt Lake City's past and present. We will explore how these events have impacted the city's development over time and how they continue to influence it today. The Native American tribes who called Salt Lake City home. Salt Lake City, Utah has a long and rich history of Native American tribes who have called the area home. The Ute, Shoshone, Paiute, and Goshu tribes were among the first to inhabit the region. These tribes lived in harmony with nature and developed unique cultures that are still celebrated today. They hunted for game, gathered food from the land, and traded with other tribes in the area. They also had a deep spiritual connection to their land that is still evident in their ceremonies and rituals. Outlaws and lawmen who roamed the wild west of Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City, Utah was a wild and lawless place during the late 19th century. It was home to some of the most notorious outlaws and lawmen of the Wild West. These outlaws and lawmen were responsible for bringing justice to the city, while also engaging in criminal activities such as robbery, murder, and smuggling. The most famous outlaws in Salt Lake City included Butch Cassidy and his gang, who were known for their daring robberies of banks and trains. On the other side of the law were legendary lawmen like Sheriff John T. Kane, who tracked down criminals with relentless determination. Please like, share, and subscribe. Butch Cassidy. Butch Cassidy is one of the most famous outlaws in American history. He spent a significant amount of time in Salt Lake City, Utah, where he made a name for himself as an accomplished criminal. During his time in Salt Lake City, Butch Cassidy was involved in numerous robberies and other criminal activities. He also became a legend among the locals due to his daring exploits and charismatic personality. Butch Cassidy's life in Salt Lake City is an important part of his history and has been immortalized by books, movies, and television shows. Sheriff John T. Kane. Sheriff John T. Kane was a legendary lawman who served in Utah during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. He was born in 1845 and served as a sheriff for over 30 years, from 1876 to 1906. During his time in office, he became known for his tough stance on crime and his willingness to take on outlaws. He also had a reputation for being fair and just, earning him the nickname, the People's Sheriff. John T. Kane was also known for his strong family values, which he passed down to his children and grandchildren. His legacy lives on today through the stories of his bravery and dedication to justice that have been passed down through generations of Utahns. He is remembered as one of the most influential sheriffs in Utah history, with many people still honoring him today by wearing badges with his name or displaying pictures of him in their homes. From Utah Territory to statehood. The area of Utah had been part of the Mexican Cession and was organized as the Utah Territory in 1850. Utah was founded in 1847 when a group of Mormon pioneers led by Brigham Young settled in the Salt Lake Valley. After a long struggle for statehood, Utah became the 45th state on January 4, 1896. The founders of Utah were largely members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS Church, who had been driven out from their homes in Illinois and other states due to religious persecution. They sought refuge in what is now known as Utah, where they could practice their religion freely and without fear of persecution. After settling in the Salt Lake Valley, they established a government based on principles from their faith and worked to make it an official state. Salt Lake City's first elections. Salt Lake City, Utah held its first elections in 1851. This was a major milestone for the city as it marked the beginning of its political history. The city's first mayor was Brigham Young, who was also the first governor of the Utah Territory. He served as mayor from 1851 to 1856 and as governor from 1851 to 1858. During his tenure, he helped to establish Salt Lake City as a major hub for commerce and transportation in the region. He also worked to improve public services such as education, health care, and infrastructure. His legacy is still felt today in Salt Lake City's vibrant culture and economy. J. Reuben Clark. J. Reuben Clark was a prominent figure in Salt Lake City, Utah. He was born in Grantsville, Utah in 1871 and graduated from Brigham Young University with a law degree. He served as an Assistant Secretary of State under President William Howard Taft and later became the United States Ambassador to Mexico. In addition to his political career, he was also a prominent religious leader in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS Church. He wrote several books on religion and served as the church's second counselor in the first presidency from 1933 until he died in 1961. His legacy lives on today through his writings, which are still widely read by members of the LDS Church. Salt Lake City and the Utah War. The Utah War, also known as the Utah Expedition, was an armed conflict between the United States government and the Mormon settlers in the Utah Territory in 1857 to 1858. The conflict arose due to tensions between the Mormon settlers and the federal government, which had appointed a non-Mormon governor to the territory. The Mormon settlers resisted the appointment and declared martial law, leading the federal government to send troops to the region to restore order. During the conflict, the Mormon settlers in Salt Lake City and the surrounding area fortified their positions and prepared for a potential attack by the federal troops. The two sides eventually reached a peaceful resolution, and the federal government agreed to allow the Mormon settlers to continue practicing their religion without interference. The Utah War had a significant impact on the development of Salt Lake City and the surrounding region. The conflict disrupted the local economy and strained relations between the Mormon settlers and the federal government. However, the resolution of the conflict ultimately allowed the Mormon community to continue to grow and prosper in the region. Please like, share, and subscribe. The Mormon Exodus. The Mormon Exodus was a series of migrations of members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS Church, also known as Mormon pioneers, from the east coast of the United States to the Salt Lake Valley in what is now Utah. The first Mormon pioneers arrived in the Salt Lake Valley in 1847, led by Brigham Young. The Mormon Exodus was motivated by several factors, including persecution and discrimination against the Mormon community in the East, a desire to establish a community where they could practice their religion freely, and the belief that the Salt Lake Valley had been divinely ordained as the site of their new community. The Mormon pioneers faced many challenges during their journey west, including harsh weather, limited resources, and attacks by Native American tribes. However, they persevered and established a thriving community in the Salt Lake Valley, which became the hub of the LDS Church and the center of Mormon culture. The Mormon Exodus is an important part of the history of Salt Lake City and the state of Utah. The Great Depression. Salt Lake City, Utah was affected by the Great Depression, a severe economic downturn that lasted from 1929 to 1939 and affected countries around the world. During this time, many people in Salt Lake City and the surrounding area lost their jobs, and businesses struggled to stay open. The Depression hit Utah particularly hard, as the state's economy was heavily reliant on mining and agriculture, both of which were hit hard by the economic downturn. Many people in Salt Lake City and the rest of Utah were forced to rely on government assistance programs, such as the Civilian Conservation Corps and the Works Progress Administration, to make ends meet. Despite the challenges of the time, the people of Salt Lake City and Utah were resilient, and the city was able to bounce back and prosper in the years following the Depression. We hope you enjoyed this video about the early history of Salt Lake City, Utah. We are going in depth to provide additional historical videos about Salt Lake City and many other Utah destinations. If you click the bell icon and turn on your notifications, you will be the first to know when we upload new videos. You can share your stories, historical information, ideas, people, places, and things in the comment section below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.